Hello and welcome to Citizens Forum. This is being filmed on Tuesday, October the 6th in the Memorial Arena in Victoria, BC. I'd like to start by thanking the volunteer crew and the Shaw staff that makes this program happen every week. The first part of Citizens Forum is always the Walt and Jack Show, so we'll start off. I want to talk a little bit about the election. And I'm really beginning to wonder why nobody will call out Stephen Harper on any of the kind of misleading statements, nonsense, outright lies that he puts out. So I just want to talk a bit about deficits, because Mr. Harper is portrayed, he's always criticizing, these guys are going to create a deficit, you know, and you can trust us not to run a deficit. We're going to make it the law. This is the nonsense he puts out. So here's the actual record. 2008, a $6 billion deficit. 2009, a $55.6 billion deficit, the largest deficit in Canadian history. So Stephen Harper ran the largest deficit in Canadian history, but that doesn't matter. 2010, $33.4 billion. 2011, $26.3 billion. 2012, I think that's $18.4 billion. 2013, $5.2 billion. And that's sort of where my numbers stop. And now they say they've run a surplus this year because they've taken money from Veterans Affairs and veterans who need help with PTSD can't get it. But nobody says that either. So, I mean, it really makes you think that all three parties are being run by one public relations firm, which is Hill and Knowlton, and they take the word from our corporate masters at the top. They spread it to all three parties. The script for all three parties is written, and here we are in the craziest election.
Well, okay, Jack, that's exactly right, and I'm just going to flog my article one more time, because it does explain how that happens, how the Canadian federal election is being rigged by, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, by the Conservatives and the NDP have gotten together. I did a bunch more research on that. And tried to figure out where it all started. It did start with Jack Layton back in 2004, and there was articles written about this unholy alliance between the Conservatives and the NDP. It didn't make any sense. The NDP were in a very good place where they were having good effect on government. They were holding the balance of power with the Liberals, which is always a good place for them to be. They got a few progressive pieces of legislation through. It was all working well. Harper knew he would never get in until he found some way of getting an angle on this election, on the electoral system. And how he did it is he bought off the NDP. And then they are secret partners ever since. And we saw this happen in the provincial election. And as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, they stole that election with using the same campaign team that the NDP used. They stole that election for the Liberals. They ripped the British Columbians off, not just the NDP. They ripped everybody off, and then off they went to Ottawa, and they're running the same scheme there with Mulcair teaming up with Harper with a strange campaign. He's running a lousy campaign. I was looking at his videos, looking at his TV stuff. He looked like Adrian Dix, all stiff and nervous, and he just wasn't natural. And that's how it's coming across. The public look at him and go like, what's the story with this guy? He's so uncomfortable with himself. That's because he's acting.
Yeah, and even that shouldn't really matter. I mean, we should be voting on, and maybe that's what everybody is voting on. I mean, it's true, Mulcair is not, Mr. Mulcair is not, he's not that comfortable on television. A lot of people aren't. But, I mean, how, I just don't see it. They were going to bring in a minimum wage. That was put forward well before the election. And that's a good thing. I mean, the minimum wage should be raised to $15 an hour. But the story wasn't true because it was only for federally regulated workers, and that's almost nobody. And in most of those federally regulated areas, people are already making the minimum wage.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who's working anywhere in Victoria in a minimum wage job who thinks that the NDP story of bringing in a minimum wage to $15 is going to help them. It's not. But they never get criticized for that.
No.
Harper doesn't get criticized for anything.
Well, he destroyed destroyed science in Canada. He took apart all the federal scientific labs. He destroyed all the records. I mean,
How could that happen?
Well, it happened, and the NDP are not talking about it. Of course, we have Harper and this right-wing, radical right-wing, really a nut job, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody that votes for Harper, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, really, there's some problems with either they're not getting the right information.
That's what it is. They're not getting the right information. I believed in the past what I was told in the newspaper, on radio, and in television. Now I see that it's kind of all a lie. But I believed it in the past, and I think people believe, for example, that Stephen Harper is if they don't like drugs, illegal drug use, they think Harper's their guy. When in fact, Harper is the drug gang's best friend because he makes it so illegal. There's shootings in Surrey every couple of days, it seems, for the past few months.
Yeah.
Well, that's because not only the poverty that Mr. Harper's government has created, but also the fact that they won't allow marijuana and other drugs to be legalized, which creates the drug gangs. But people see it a different way.
Now, might I just hold something else up?
Please do.
This is an article. This is a press release from the Green Party of Canada. And could you just read that first line, Jack?
Stephen Harper and Thomas Mulcair refused to join the English language debate. Which debate is that?
That's the main big debate, the English language debate that the big networks put on for every election.
Oh, so this would be the one that was on CTV and CBC.
Yeah, this is like a playoff game and hockey night in Canada.
Harper
Everybody's
and
going to watch this.
When is that dated? Is that recent?
This was just released October 2nd.
Okay.
Now, to me...
So that debate's over. It won't happen.
Only the Liberals and the Greens are willing to go. I don't think it's going to happen. Now, what do you think of that, Jack? What do you think when Thomas Mulcair, Stephen Harper won't go, I'm not going to go either. Does that make any sense to you?
I'm a member of the NDP. I assume... I don't know why they're doing it. I don't like it. I just don't like it. It's just not right. It's not democratic.
Well, Mulcair was happy to go when Elizabeth May couldn't go to the other debates, the Monk debate and whatever.
Yeah.
He was very happy to go there and exclude her. And now when his arch enemy is not going to come, Mulcair's not going to go. Something's really fishy there, Jack. We just have to use our common sense here. No matter how the NDP want to spin this around, look, this fits perfectly into my analysis of how the NDP and the Conservatives are secret partners in a political game. They're rip off the Canadian public.
But aren't the Liberals in there as well?
Well, the Liberals are sort of like the third line on the team. They're in there, but they're not the major players. The major players are the NDP and the Conservatives here. Of course,
So who do you think is going to win the election?
Well, that's
Or is
another
that
whole
yet to
story.
be seen?
I'm going to jam another one in, Jack, while we're talking, okay? Because it all fits together. And this is the article that you were talking about.
Murray Rankin versus Canada. So this is based on an article in Focus magazine, and it has to do, kind of in a way with the TPP that was just signed yesterday. Canada was sued under NAFTA regulations by an American mining company, who's Bilcon, I think, because the government of Canada rejected a proposal that was so bad that it just could not allow it to go ahead. So we were sued for $300 million, and NDP candidate here in Victoria, Murray Rankin, wrote a 78-page report for the American mining company, helping support their idea that they should be able to sue the people of Canada because we blocked a mining operation of theirs that was an environmental disaster. And Murray Rankin testified in their behalf at a hearing and wrote the 78-page report.
Okay, in any other universe, that would be it for Mary Rankin, wouldn't it?
That would be a...
Yeah, that would be it for Mary Rankin. That story would have broke a year ago or whenever it occurred, and Mary Rankin would have been just shamed out of office or something for going and supporting a company that was attacking Canadian environmental laws, that were attacking us. And it took our $300 million out of our pockets.
The money hasn't been. That was the lawsuit. They've won. Bilcon has won. The American mining company won. The actual amount of the penalty that we have to pay will be decided next year.
I don't want to overstate my case.
But why is it being kept secret? That's
this
what
is
I don't
it, Jack.
get, except for Focus Magazine. The corporate media won't report it.
Now, Murray Rankin is this great environmental lawyer, has this great international reputation. He's so well respected. But it's sort of business as usual. What they hired him, he wrote a report. Now, the thing is, he was running for office while he was writing this report. He signed this report after he was a member of Parliament. So I'm not saying, look, in politics, Jack, you got to have somebody on your team or they're not on your team. Well, Murray Rankin was pretending to be on our team when he was batting for the other guys. I know that's all that's happening here. Now, this is so vitally
I'll say
important.
maybe there is some kind of, maybe it all makes sense in the world of lawyers. But to me, I mean, people at least have the right to know. I mean, people think of Murray Rankin as, somebody who's fought for the environment. That's his reputation. This, puts something on the other side that can't be ignored, and it's not being discussed.
What can I say? I mean, you can have different people can have different views of the world and different morals and ethics and all that. And then they're saying one thing and then doing something else. That's all I'm saying. You can have whatever values you want in the world and in your business, whatever business you work on and work in. But don't pretend to be an environmentalist. The NDP billing Murray Rankin as an environmentalist. He just helped this company make a devastating blow to our environmental laws. And if you read the article in Focus, you're going to find that this is not just a minor victory. This could be so destructive for the country to be able to defend themselves against these attacks.
Yeah, you're right. The decision that was made was called precedent setting. By some very serious people. So this is a major decision, a NAFTA attack. It's the ability of the corporation to sue our country because we wouldn't let them do something that they wanted to do. And that's what's coming in with the TPP, except even more. And, oh my God, the TPP is going to be so wonderful. It's going to be great. Yeah, really, we're not hearing the truth about that either.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep signing these free trade deals, and the country keeps going down the drain. Could there be some connection between those things?
Yeah, I mean, you were pointing out about the budgetary things, and of course they were saying we were rescuing the economy when you were reading out the numbers of the Harper deficits. Where was that money going, Jack? They were paying off their friends, paying off the corporations. They didn't change the tax structure. Corporate taxation in Canada is a joke. It's half of what it is in the United States of America. What's that all about, Jack? That's like hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that should be helping us to manage our affairs in Canada. Right. And they're socking into the corporate pockets.
Yeah, Harper's deficits were in the neighborhood of 150 to I think 170 or 180 billion dollars in these few years that he's been in charge.
Yeah.
And once they raise interest rates, just wait, folks, we're going to be paying. And yet there he is on the campaign trail talking about deficits, and the NDP won't call him out, and the Liberals won't call him out, and the media won't call him out. So he's allowed to go out there and just spout absolute nonsense to us, and nobody says a word.
Well, I was thinking about it, and somebody else coined this phrase that the NDP was the fake left wing.
Yes.
And I thought, gee, that's pretty harsh to say that, the fake left wing. When I realized they're the fake political party. They're not even a political party, Jack. They're just some appendage hanging off of the Conservative Party of Canada that nobody wants to really talk about. They're going to do all the dirty work for the Conservatives. and get the Conservatives elected. And then they're going to win a few more seats, and they're going to try to nudge the Liberals out of that official opposition spot. They're not running to win. They're running to build up their own little nest egg, but never to be a government. They're never going to make it because they've sold out. The public is looking for something that's real. We're looking for politicians that are going to speak from the heart, that are connected to these issues. You know, that is why, is this an ad for the Green Party? I guess it is, because this is all I can say to you, that when I listen to Elizabeth May, when I talk to Elizabeth May and listen to her candidates, these are very concerned people. And they're coming from the workers. We see Indigenous people in that party. We see some diversity going on, and we see some compassion and something that's real. And that's why they're terrified of her, as far as I'm concerned, because
they won't let her into the debates. What a disgrace! And
I
when
know.
she finally is in a debate, Mr. Mulcair and Mr. Harper won't show up, so the debate's going to get canceled. The consortium debate that you just mentioned.
Yeah. So look, I'm sorry that my NDP friends are always contacting me,
Still have
telling me
friends
to
in the NDP?
cut
Oh
it
my
out.
God.
Give me something that's good to talk about. Oh, I just want to mention before we go too far into the show that.
The show's almost over.
But I'm going to tell you this anyway,
Okay.
because we're going to be talking to Mazen Al-Nahawi about what happened to him when he went to a candidates meeting last week,
Right.
where the Dogwood Initiative and the BC Sustainable Energy Association tried to keep him and his party from attending the meeting, as well as not allowing their registered candidate to take part in the meeting. And again, it looks like a suppression of democratic process. It's vital that we all find out about this, and we're going to be talking about this further on.
Yeah. You know, another guest on the program this week, Yves Engler, he wrote this book, Canada in Africa, and he basically says that Mr. Harper's role in Libya is essentially a war crime, and played a major role in the creation of ISIS, because when Libya was devastated and turned into a failed state, ISIS kind of came out of it, which was the plan. And yet Mr. Harper is allowed to be on television always making us afraid of ISIS. We have to worry about ISIS, we have to bomb ISIS, we have to do this and we have to do that. But he helped create ISIS. And the story you pointed out over the last few months of Mr. Harper's role in the smuggling of teenage girls from Britain into Syria to join ISIS, that can't, and yet here we are in the middle of an election and nobody will say it. The other party, why won't the other party say it?
Well, I said, we're in this unreal place. I think most of the public are picking up on it. Anybody's paying any attention. This is so fake. The whole process is so fake. And the public is desperately seeking solutions, real solutions. And all they're offering up is some script written by a public relations firm. Probably it's happened in the past, and other elections have been that way. But this one here just has such a powerful smack of that.
Well, I believed all the lies for a good chunk of my life, and I know a lot of people still do. I don't fault them in any way for believing, because it's a very effective propaganda campaign. But there's, we're in more trouble than we think. That's my fear.
Yeah, look, should we wrap up with something maybe a little better?
Got about 30 seconds.
Good news.
Okay.
We want, if you Google Take Back Your Power, this is a group that's been fighting smart meters worldwide, and there's a great video on here showing what they do in Latin America when they don't like smart meters. They rip them all out and they throw them in a great big pile and insist not to use them. So this is something we should be having happening here in Canada. But please go to this website. There's a video. It's really quite interesting.
Take Back Your Power?
Take Back Your Power, and I'm sure the staff is going to get you a website going.
Okay. And we're out of time. Thank you, Walter.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this segment of Citizens.